Every day presents different struggles, and every day there are times that are incredibly challenging. Hey beautiful people, I hope you're doing awesome. Connor here. We are continuing today to talk about one meal a day. It has officially been over 100 days for me on one meal a day, often known as OMAD diet. And if you've seen my other videos, you know a little bit more about what that actually looks like. It's not just sitting down to one plate of food. It's really sitting down to a certain time frame during your day. And for me, that's been looking like primarily 2 hours a day of eating, of consuming calories and various nutraceuticals, vitamins and minerals. And for the rest of the time, the other 22 hours, more or less, being in a state of fasting, so restricting calories. And this has a myriad of health benefits. So I'd love, if this is the first time you checked out this channel, for you to check out those other two videos that'll give you a lot more information on what one meal a day is all about. In this video, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I have learned in the last 100 plus days now doing one meal a day. The biggest thing that I want to let you all know, and I think this could be just nice to hear, is that it is hard. It is hard. It really is. And I think, sometimes we find things in our life that are challenging, but they're really exciting us. And I think we've all had things like this, where in the beginning, it's a lot easier. And then once it becomes more routine and a little more, we get kind of used to it, we notice just how challenging it actually is. And that's certainly been my journey with one meal a day, even though I'm still seeing incredible benefits, such that I still feel very elated about doing this one meal a day thing. It has gotten harder. And part of that, I think, is just kind of getting used to it and the newness factor kind of wearing down. So people have been messaging me and just asking me, does it get any easier? And I don't know. I mean, this is a question I want to ask someone who's been doing it for multiples of years rather than multiples of days. Because realistically, 100 days is really a very short amount of time. So I'm not an expert on this, but this is a good place, I think, for me to share my experiential knowledge publicly, because it's a pivotal time, I think, where a lot of people might start one meal a day and do it for a day. They might do it for a week, they might do it for a month. And often we don't hear about that part of the journey. We hear from people who have been doing certain things like one meal a day once they've been doing it for years down the road and they've totally got it on lock. I don't feel like I totally have it on lock. I feel like every day presents different struggles, and every day there are times that are incredibly challenging. I would say literally every day. Some days are a lot easier than other days. So this is just something I wanted to let you know, because I think it's just putting it into a more realistic frame rather than saying, oh yeah, this is totally awesome, it's totally easy, you got this, you can do it. Let's be real about this and say that it's hard. And it makes sense that it's hard because we have so many years of connecting and caring for ourselves through eating food throughout the day. And it might be the types of food, it might be the amounts of food, but certainly feeding ourselves throughout the day allows us to constantly stay in a state of kind of busyness inside of our physiological system. And when we slow that down and we have 22 hours a day of not eating, a lot comes up emotionally, a lot comes up physically, a lot comes up mentally. So these challenges, I see great benefits to being in these challenges, but nonetheless, they are challenging. One of the biggest things that I've found doing this for over 100 days now is that routine is absolutely crucial to being able to do this. I want to share this experience with you because I think it will put this into perspective. I've been just really nailing it every day with routines that are sustainable, that I am maintaining, and that feel incredibly important to the whole balance structure of doing one meal a day, and in a bigger sense, taking care of myself. And I had this weekend where my brother got married over in Portland. I'm in Austin right now, so my partner Brittany and I flew out there, and we stayed there for a few days and then flew back. And the trip out there, and then being a part of the wedding and seeing family, all that stuff, you know how it is. Things get busy, and my routines, my self-care practices definitely were not able to come with me on that trip. And I sort of expected that, and I said to myself, you know, it's okay if I eat outside of this window. It's okay if I kind of eat foods that are outside of this window, or outside kind of the food groups that I have been setting up for myself. Still like all plant-based, still very healthy, still a much smaller window, and a lot less like crazy foods than maybe your standard person would consume at a wedding. But nonetheless, I got away from my routines for a weekend, and I just figured, all right, you know, it'll be that weekend, I'll come back and I'll get right back on my routines and I'll be all set. It did not work like that for me. I came back, I got back on my routines, but my body was incredibly affected, and I ended up getting sick, and being sick for 8 days. And it was like, started in the throat, moved into the body. I had a fever, I had aches, I had a cough, I had a lot of mucus. And I can get into this maybe in a different video, that when we get sick and we are also doing something like this detoxification process, which one meal a day will absolutely do for you, because you have such a long period of time where you're not consuming food and your body is going to be cleaning. When you get sick in a state of detoxification, your body is you're probably going to get sicker or see more sick-like symptoms, and that's simply your body cleaning house. And I think my body just took the opportunity to clean out some dead and bad stuff, you know, some stuff that was had been stacked up, some toxicity in my system. Whether it was just from that weekend or had been stuff from way back when, I don't know. But this all happened because I got away from my routines. And I think that it's realistic that if you're attempting to do one meal a day for a very long time, possibly for the rest of your life, that at some time or another, you're gonna kind of get out of your routines. You might eat outside of your window. You might have way more calories than you had set up for yourself, or types of foods that really were not ideal, that you weren't expecting to have. And these things are gonna happen. So I have a lot of compassion for myself. I'm not beating myself up about it, but it was a great learning experience, and I feel much more excited, honestly, about sticking to my routines, being really die-hard about it, because it really affected me. And the last thing I have learned after 100 days eating this way, 100 plus days eating this way, is that doing my own research, getting my own answers, has felt so good for me. And I really think that this is something that can be applied to every area of life. You know, we are our ultimate teacher, our ultimate guru. We are really the only ones that can take care of ourselves in the best way possible. And it's awesome that you're watching this video. I imagine you're watching this video to get some help with those answers, to maybe get my perspective, and then hopefully, you know, use what I'm sharing with you to apply it to your own perspective and the things that you know are working for you. I don't think it's very helpful for us to copy each other. It is helpful to mimic one another up to a point so that we can learn new skills and try on, you know, different ways of life. But ultimately, we've got to find our own path. It's so unique, you know, and like what I'm doing with one meal a day, I don't think is really replicable. I have a completely different system, not just physiologically, but emotionally and mentally. I have a completely different system than you do. So the things that are really working for me, they're not going to work exactly the same way for you. And that's true for me as well. So I have looked to other people for a basic understanding of how 1 meal a day could be used by myself with the most benefit. And I've sort of mimicked that up to a point. But throughout that whole process, I've been doing my own research, and the research element has done a couple of things for me. One is obviously I have gained more knowledge, and that's great, especially when we're talking about knowledge about ourselves. I think that that's just a wonderful endeavor to partake in. The second thing that it's done for me is it's empowered me throughout this process. So, you know, going back to the first thing that I mentioned in this video of it being hard. Well, one of the things that can be really helpful when it is feeling hard is to do some research and understand why it is that you're doing this thing. Why did you want to start this thing in the first place? Do some research on why intermittent fasting can be so beneficial. Find out what types of nutrition are going to be necessary for you to maintain this in a sustainable way. Because it could just be that you're feeling very challenged because you've been deficient in vitamin whatever for 3 months and you just didn't know it. So you can do this type of research and find all that stuff out on your own. I would also encourage you to do research on mindful practices, meditation, yoga, just going outside and being in the sun for a little while, some breath work. All of that stuff is going to be a benefit to this piece of your journey, this 1 meal a day piece of your journey, if that is what you're choosing to do. I want to close this video out by saying that I'm absolutely loving what I'm doing. I'm learning so much about myself by doing this 1 meal a day. It's just incredible how much is related to food. And this is not just me and this person and that, it's like everybody. Food is just such a big part of our emotional world. It's really connected with our emotional world. And it's been a beautiful process to have pause, to allow this whole emotional body to come up and just be with it during these times where I otherwise would have eaten. I also want to use just a moment at the end of this video to share the absolute importance of choosing to do intermittent fasting from a place of health, and to really seek proper education, self-education, if you're going to do this at all, and certainly if you're planning to do it for a long time. There are ways to do 1 meal a day that really are not healthy for the body, and not healthy for the emotional body, and not healthy for the mental body. And there are absolutely ways to do this that will be incredibly beneficial for your whole system. And ultimately, you're the only person who can make that decision for yourself. But it may be useful to know from me, from someone who is in the health field, that I don't think that it's necessarily good for everyone. Maybe if we were just operating out of a physiological body, we had no emotions, we had no mental connection with food whatsoever, it was just a physiological being, I could more readily say this would be healthy for everyone to pursue. But I don't feel that way. I think all our systems are so interconnected, our emotional, our mental, our physical are so connected, that just trying to separate one and saying, well, if it's healthy for this system, then it's healthy for the whole system, is not really accurate. And I think you're the only person who can really give a proper self-assessment, you know, playing around with intermittent fasting or doing 1 meal a day or calorie restricting. All of this stuff can be very challenging if you're not coming at it from a very healthful place. And as I said, you're really the only one who can judge that for yourself, but I would say to be gentle with that process. and to allow yourself to make mistakes, to also try things on and have them not work, to even make commitments to yourself that you later say, I don't want to make that commitment anymore. I think all of those things are perfectly okay, and the best thing to do is to continue to practice these things with compassion, with curiosity, and with a sense of calm. So if you want some help doing that, I have some options that I think could be very helpful, and one of those is a 30-day program that I will offer here, and you can check out the links in the description box. You can also, of course, reach out to me and work with me one-on-one. That's what I do primarily, is work with clients one-on-one, and I absolutely love what I do. So much love to you. Thanks so much for watching this video. We will see you next time.